All right, let's talk through all the changes that are coming in this next weekly reset with the anniversary edition to Mistweaver Monk. And I'm just going to run through the list, and then I have two builds that I've kind of cooked up for you guys that I plan on testing, and I'll share them with you and kind of walk through what they're both kind of trying to do with all these new changes. Unfortunately, the servers are down for the PTR, so I can't kind of show you some of these spells, but we can talk through them, what their general idea is, and let's just kind of walk through just in case you haven't been kept up with this. So, starting off with the first change to Mistweaver Monk, we have Dome of Mist is being added as a new talent. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this used to be a PvP talent, and how it works is if your enveloping mist is dispelled, which now it finally can be. I guess it couldn't be before, but if it is dispelled, 80% of its healing or its remaining healing is going to be transferred into a shield on that player, and it still kind of keeps that healing bonus buff. This is really cool. I mean, once again, I don't think this ever comes up for us PvE players. However, I'd be happy to be wrong there. But for those who do play PvP, this is just good. Whenever something's taken away from your PvP talents and just put into your talent tree in a place that you can access it, that, in my opinion, is always a welcome change because it frees up a PvP talent slot and just lets you kind of have a bit more for less. So pretty cool there, but kind of just like a quality of life thing for people who most of us can just ignore this if we're PvE players, I think. Next up is Jadefire Teachings. This is exciting. So after we cast Jadefire Stomp or Thunder Focus Tea, so they're adding in Thunder Focus Tea to substitute for Essence Font as a way to proc our Ancient Teachings, basically. So after we cast those two spells, Ancient Teachings transfers an additional 140% of its damage into healing for 15 seconds. So basically, if you have been playing Mistweaver for any amount of time recently, this will be the exact same for you, except now you can also proc your Ancient Teachings buffs with Thunder Focus Tea, which is very exciting. Also, you're still keeping this effect where your stamina is increased by 5% while you have this buff active. This is currently in the game. However, if this is kind of sounding weird to you, it's probably because it says 140%, but it normally says 170%. Trust me, we will get there. Notice it says additional. I promise you, spoilers ahead. But yeah, this is very cool. But now we can proc this with Thunder Focus Tea. Pretty cool, but kind of weird, which we'll also get to that as well. New talent, Refreshment. Life Cocoon now grants 5 stacks of Mana Tea and applies 2 stacks of Healing Elixir to its target. Now, this is very cool because it's kind of like a little Cenarian ward where it's going to give them 2 charges of Healing Elixir and then heal them once they take smacks of damage. So that in itself is very cool. And then the 5 stacks of Mana Tea is also pretty nice. However, right now, at least in Mistweaver's current state, we don't really need Mana Tea stacks. We kind of have just enough to get by with our hero talent tree giving us free stacks whenever we proc Yu'lon or GG. Oh gosh. Anyways, we get free ones from our hero talent tree, and we have plenty with our mana currently, but this can just help us make sure that we don't run out. But the 2 stacks of Healing Elixir is very cool. I don't know how this is going to be balancing wise, especially once you see what it's sharing a talent node with. But yeah, very cool change there. All right, next up. Now this one's exciting. Rushing Wind Kick. This is a new spell. And to put it simply, it replaces Rising Sun Kick and behaves like Rising Sun Kick. So most of your talents, any of your talents that rock with Rising Sun Kick, like Rising Mist, Rapid Diffusion, things like that, will now also proc with Rushing Wind Kick if you talent into this. So it replaces Rising Sun Kick, and it says, kick up a powerful gust of wind, dealing nature damage in a 25-yard cone. Now this is a pretty narrow cone, so you kind of shoot in like a very thin cone in front of you, a little kick, and it's basically like an AoE Rising Sun Kick, and it splits its damage on each target that you hit. So damage is increased by 5% up to 30% depending on how many targets you hit. So you want to hit up to 6 ideally, so this can be used to kind of cleave and get a bit more damage. It also, whenever you hit it, not only is it just like it's going to give you all of Rising Sun Kick's effects, but it also grants Rushing Winds for 4 seconds, which increases your Renewing Mist healing by 50% or 50%. Oh, 50 seconds. No, 4 seconds of 50% bonus healing from your Renewing Mist, which is really cool. I mean, you're just going to supercharge your Renewing Mist for 4 seconds, which is very nice and works very well with a lot of builds that we're running right now. I mean, imagine you do a whole Yulon ramp and then you rushing wind kick at the end of it, extend all of those hots with Rising Mist, and then just supercharge all of those free renewing mist that you have out. It's going to be very cool and add up to a nice chunk of healing. But what's really cool is a lot of people are very excited about this because it's a 25-yard range Rising Sun Kick, basically. Is how a lot of people, especially a lot of PvPers I've heard, are excited about this because it gives you a way to proc some of your powerful effects like Rising Mist from afar. Now, I did not get much testing in this since I've heard they've fixed it with Rising Mist, but when I originally tested it, you probably remember from my recent video about me talking about this, it was bugged with Rising Mist. But like I said, I've heard that they fixed it. But all in all, pretty cool. I will say I do have some gripes with this ability. To me, one of my least favorite parts of this is that Blackout Kick can still reset it like it can with Rising Sun Kick because it literally is Rising Sun Kick, just different. However, you're incentivized to kind of stand out a bit so that the cone cannot miss, so that the cone can get wide enough to hit multiple targets or at least the target you're aimed at. Which, if you're that far out, you can't Blackout Kick and cleave, and you can't do anything like that. So I don't know. It's very odd, but a pretty welcome option if you want to. So very cool. It is on a node with Jadefire teaching. So if you do opt for this, you do not get that supercharged 140% bonus distribution of your damage into healing, which is a huge trade-off, but it allows you to kind of like sit out away from a mob or away from a boss and still proc your powerful effect. So that is very important, especially in like PvP. I keep bringing it up, but it seems like a lot of these changes are exciting for those of you that play PvP. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys know I don't PvP, but I'm excited for you guys. Moving on, Jade Empowerment. You guys know this one. I'm sure you've seen it. You become a Sith Lord, and you whenever you cast your Thunder Focus Tea, you get a buff that lasts until you use it. You don't have to use it immediately after pressing Thunder Focus Tea, but you get this buff, and then the next time that you Crackling Jade Lightning, it's going to increase the damage by 1,000% and cause it to chain to 4 additional enemies. Now, on the talent calculator, it says by 800%, so I guess we have to see which one makes it into live. I'm sure these are the notes that were released like this week, so I want to say it's going to be 1,000, but I could be wrong there. But either way, you press Thunder Focus Tea, you gain a buff to your Crackling Jade Lightning to where it just does AoE damage, and it also cranks healing off of, let's see, have I gotten there yet? I haven't gotten there yet, but okay, so you just basically crank AoE lightning into enemies, and it's just super sick, very cool, and it shares a choice node with Dance of Chiji, that thing that procs every now and then where your next spinning crane kick will do bonus damage. So you kind of get this option if you want to just play more into your spinning crane kicks or play more into this and have like a big burst phase. I've really enjoyed this, and I'm very excited to play around with Jade Empowerment a bit more in some actual keys. Can't believe this is making it live. It just doesn't feel like WoW, doesn't feel like Mistweaver Monk, but I am here for it, to be honest. Okay, anyways, let's move on. I promise we'll come back to that. Calming Coalescence has been redesigned. It increases the absorb amount of Life Cocoon by 80%. Now, currently, Calming Coalescence is a buff that you gain by channeling your Soothing Mist. So every time that you're taking your Soothing Mist, you're going to get a buff that'll just continuously stack up and giga buff your Life Cocoon. This doesn't buff it as much, but you no longer have to sit there and channel Soothing Mist. Like, so you can basically play a build that doesn't play Soothing Mist, which there are plenty around right now, and still gain benefit from taking Calming Coalescence. I mean, you rarely ever Soothing Mist in a Mythic Plus dungeon in most keys, and or enough to get max value out of this currently. So now you can actually opt to take this talent and get max value from it. Very cool. It will share a talent node with Refreshment, the one that we just talked about earlier. So that is a good change in my opinion. Taking some of its max value down for some more realistic value is always a good thing in my book. But Ancient Teachings is now a baseline effect. It is being baked into us Mistweavers as a kit, but it only transfers 30% of the damage instead of 170%. And it also works with Crackling Jade Lightning. So we can sit back and Crackling Jade Lightning, just tickle from afar, do like 0 damage, but just tickle, 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 and it's going to heal at least, your allies a little bit. Once again, Crackling Jade Lightning kind of still sucks, but this is very cool when paired with Jade Empowerment to tickle 4 bonus enemies and just like boom, 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 get a lot of healing, get a lot of damage out. It's really cool. I'm excited to play around with this in some big keys. Also, notice now that Ancient Teachings is baseline 30%. You're always going to be distributing 30% of your damage into healing. But if you proc Jadefire Teachings, that will bump up to the 170% that we are currently seeing in the game now. So that's probably why you, hopefully that didn't confuse anyone. But it's basically the same unless you choose not to go with Ancient Teachings or Jadefire Teachings, then it's going to be better because you're just getting a free 30% damage distribution, which is nice. Speaking of distributions, they are redistributing the power of Blackout Kick. So Blackout Kick's baseline damage is increased by 25%. So if I kick you, if I Blackout Kick you, you're going to take a quarter more damage now than you used to. However, if you have 2 of your friends next to you, it's going to do 70% or 30% less damage to them. So the cleaving damage is going down by 30%, but the baseline, the overall damage is going down by 25%. I'm sorry. They're going to take 70% less damage times 25% more damage. So they're going to be taking slightly less damage. You, the single target, my actual target, will be taking more damage. So let me do some of the math to kind of show you. On 3 targets, this is the exact same. So if you give it the buff, so 1.25, but then you multiply it by 2.4. So the 1.4 is the 70% cleaves, and then the 1 is going to be the single target. So times 2.4, because you're doing 2.4 damage based on this number, going down from 3.0, it's now 2.4, but it's going up to 1.25. You're doing the same as you were before. It's as if you're hitting all 3 targets for 100% damage. You're getting 3 times the damage of a Blackout Kick. That is the exact same. However, on 2 targets, you're going to be seeing 1.7 times 1.25, which is more than 2. So on 2 targets, we are getting a buff, basically with our Blackout Kick. And then on 1 targets, it will be 1.25 times 1, which is just a 25% buff to our single target Blackout Kick damage. Very cool. This is just a buff and a buff in a way that we needed. So on boss fights in dungeons, boss fights in raid, all these times doubled cleaving things. I mean, think of like this, the Court of Stars boss where it's just you, Court of Threads boss where it's you versus 2 bosses. You're cleaving on 2 targets. You're just getting a free buff, which is very cool. And then let's see, where were we? Awaken Jadefire, we just read that. Now cleaves onto 2. It reduced the cleave. Crackling Jade Lightning now channels 25% faster. So you're going to be tickling, but like really fast fingers. So that's great and all. It's really cool with this buff because that damage just really cranks and does a lot of damage and healing all at once. But this doesn't make Crackling Jade Lightning worth pressing outside of this, in my opinion, still, unfortunately. But then another really cool one that's kind of slipped under people's radar is Dance of Chi-Chi's chance to trigger has been increased by 100% and has moved talent locations. So let me just show you what Dance of Chi-Chi looks like now. So your spells and abilities have a chance to make your next spinning crane cake deal an additional 400% damage. And it says here it procs approximately 3 procs per minute. Basically, that proc chance is going to be higher and it's going to do more, or it's just going to do big damage. So this is on a talent node, you'll see here with Jade Empowerment, so you can kind of choose, 1, if you want to take either of these, but 2, if you want to play like a more traditional build where you have the chance to spinning crane kick, punch and kick, you're in melee, your Dance of Chi-Chi procs, you just spin and do a big AoE damage and proc a bunch of healing that way. Or if you want a more controlled environment that is also equally powerful if you're out and ranged or in melee punching and kicking, Jade Empowerment is a great option. So These changes to this talent node alone, I think, is excellent, and I am very excited to play with both of these talents. Dance of Chi I love. I just did not like how infrequently it procced, so it's great that they're upping that chance by even more. I love that. And then Jade Empowerment is just super sick. I mean, Giga Tickles, AoE Tickles, we love to see it. So, um, all in all, very exciting changes. I already mentioned this, and then these are the two talents that are being removed to make place for all the new stuff. So, all in all, it looks really cool. And the builds that I plan on testing are these. So, this is a build that I want to take into Mythic Plus, and I'm still debating if I want to play with Shayloon's Gift or if I want to play with just like a Giga like Yulon build, because you don't really need Shayloon's Gift if you're just channeling a Soothing Mist anyways, playing with Peer into Peace. But you know what? We'll have to just take it in the keys and see. But regardless of that, this core of this build is what I'm very excited to mess around with. I guess we can just use these 3 talent nodes or points as a placeholder. But Peer into Peace, we're going to be channeling Soothing Mist a lot, just spot healing around. We're going to Rushing Wind Kick from afar to proc things like Rising Mist, Rapid Diffusion, Crane style, just like really cool interactions, extending our HOTS very well. We're going to have 1 minute Yulon ramps in a Mythic Plus dungeon with Rising Mist. Love that. Used to love that interaction, but we can now do it from afar. So I'm very excited to test this. Oh, and not to mention, since we're out from afar Soothing Misting, we can also just Thunder Focus Tea and just crank the damage with Jade Empowerment. So I am very excited to test this build, and once again, this will be down in the description below. This is just what I plan on testing. I don't know if it's 100% optimal, so it's likely that, you know, someone's gonna be like, hey, why are you running this talent? And I'll be like, oh yeah, you're right, I probably should swap that. But this is just what I kind of cooked together, and I'm excited to try out. And then I'm also excited to take our standard build. You know, you still take Jade Fire Stomp, Awaken Jade Fire teachings, all the good stuff, except I'm really excited to give Dance of Chi another shot. Let's see, what would we take outside of that? Honestly, nothing. Now that we have this point back, we no longer have to take Awaken Jadefire and Ancient Concordance. It's it's honestly just nice, and I'm excited to just try out Dance of Chi. I do also think you could play this exact build, but just play Jade Empowerment, given that it is a good option. But that's going to take some testing to see if it's strong enough. But yeah, I'm just generally excited to try out some caster keys, see if it's finally like a good enough option to take down some pretty high keys, which I believe it already was, but just just realistically, it was behind a standard build. But I'm also thinking it's going to be a fun time to play with the standard Mistweaver build with Chi, with our punching and kicking, just Dance of Chi proccing more often, getting some more spins off, sitting on those spins for a few seconds for the big damage, and then boom, spinning and watching all the health bars just top up. It's going to be a good time. I'm going to be definitely tinkering around with the Jade Lightning build. Now, I've already kind of said some of my gripes with some of the changes. So, most notably, I've mentioned Rushing Wind Kick being able to be reset with Blackout Kick, but it just really feels like a Nombo and anti-synergy, trying to stand back so that this hits everyone and doesn't just flat out miss, while also standing in melee so that your Blackout Kicks can hit. What was that? Where was I going with that? Oh, there's also another anti-synergy with one of the changes that in my testing, it felt kind of odd. And although they meant for it to be just purely a buff, let's see, where is it? It is, it's right here. So now that our Thunder Focus Tea gives us this buff as well, so this is another way that we can activate Jadefire Teachings. I rarely ever used it like this. You'll see that even whenever I run a Jadefire Stomp build, I'm running Chi Burst as my way to try to reset that cooldown if I need to. Let's see, can y'all see that? Yes, you can. But it still felt kind of awkward if I ever used Thunder Focus Tea to just proc for the sole purpose of proccing Jadefire Teachings, but I was running a Master of Harmony build. It did feel weird because it would kind of just waste our aspect of harmony. So it does feel like Thunder Focus Tea is kind of trying to do a bit too much right now. But honestly, I kind of like that. I like that they're trying to make Thunder Focus Tea feel like our burst window, or one of our burst windows, kind of like our Celestials are, if to like a much smaller extent. However, to counter that argument, you could just say, well, just don't go Master of Harmony. If you're going to play this build with Jadefire Teachings, just go Conduit with Celestials and just, shave time off of your Thunder Focus Tea that way. So I don't know, but basically all I'm trying to say is I am very excited for these changes. Um, very excited to try out these builds. Pretty excited about most of the new spells. Like, I love the whole, like, giving us a point here. I love the Jadefire Stomp being a green icon. I didn't even mention that, but it looks really clean. However, it's kind of jarring to see the green icon here and then the Awakened Jadefire icon still be blue. So hopefully that gets fixed. But overall, I think it's going to be a fun time. And we do have to play with these, most of these changes until like January, I think. So let's see. Yeah, October 22nd to January 6th of next year. So most of these changes are probably going to be the skeleton of the build that, or the talents that you see for the next few months. So I'm happy. I am happy. I'm excited to crank out some videos for you guys. What do you guys think? Are you excited about these talents? Are you most excited about one of these builds? Are you really excited that now we can press Rising Sunkek from afar and it connects? Or are you upset that it doesn't really work well while you're in melee? Let me know all of that, all of your gripes, everything that you're excited for down in the comments below. And guys, while you're down there, make sure and like this video and let me know what you guys want to see me play once all of this stuff goes live. I would be more than happy to bring that to you guys. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and go to sleep. You can probably tell, but it is 2:30 in the morning. I am so tired. I just wanted to get this video out for you for the weekend. So enjoy your weekends. Hit the subscribe button. What else can I say? I'm like half asleep. Like the video, comment below, subscribe. I think I've sold out enough. Okay, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Until then, take care.